Welcome to another edition of the Tom Green Podcast. Those Lions, I tell you, they are just darn close. I had said it last week that I was going to pick the Lions to lose every single week until they proved me wrong. Well, maybe I might pick a little bit differently this week. As for that, we have a little bit of a different flair on things. We have a different guest on the show. He went to college with me years ago, and we can pretty much both agree that college turned into playing World Golf Tour on the computer because
Yes.
that was pretty much what happened when we were in the same class. And we both got out with degrees. They say C's get degrees. We've proven that to a T.
That's right.
Ryan Bauer.
Hello, Tom. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Welcome to the show. And how about yourself? Good to have you on the show.
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Can't wait to talk some football with you.
Absolutely. As we had said before, he is one of our dedicated fans of the Tom Green Podcast. Absolutely. You've pretty much participated in every single pick'em, and Alex DeWitt's had the undefeated, so we've had a little bit of rough luck there. But
yeah.
Tell me your fandom for this Tom Green show.
Well, I just love what you do. I think you're a great stand-up guy. You have a lot of knowledge, and I like listening to you. I like seeing you, and I wish we got to do this more often. So I'm ready to go.
Absolutely, for sure. It's great. Glad to have you as a big fan of the show. Same with Christopher Critter Deneen, who's trying to treat us in fantasy football every other week, as well as Alex DeWitt, who will most likely be on the show next week for Lions Rams, as we're going out to LA for Lions Rams at SoFi Stadium.
You're going to the game?
I'm going to LA.
Oh, that is so cool. I am so jealous.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, I am excited for sure.
Yeah, SoFi is a really cool stadium.
For sure. So yes, we talked a little bit of fantasy football. Last week I had some rough luck because Devontae Parker was ruled out, and I didn't realize he was still in my lineup. But I was glad to know that it wouldn't have mattered, because even had I had Chase Claypool in there, I still would have lost by about 20 points. 3-2 on the season for the Tom Green standard. So we're doing all right. How's Team Arbau?
Well, I am the commissioner of the league that me and Tom are in, for those of you who don't know. And I started out the season with a team name, Your Fearless Leader. Well, that team names quickly changed to Your Fearless Loser because of how bad my season is going. So if that tells you anything, we're 1-4 right now.
Yeah, the unfortunate that's you see in my Dynasty Fantasy League, my team is literally the Kyle Shanahan 49ers. It would be pretty darn good if everybody were healthy.
Yeah,
I've got one or two people going on IR every single week. I'm having to trade like a madman because I'm just having nothing in that league. But thankfully in our league, things are going all right.
Yeah,
I just have to make sure nobody goes inactive right before kickoff. It's like, gee, thanks, Dolphins.
I know.
I probably should have had Claypool there, but nonetheless, I would have lost anyway. So that makes me feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah.
So Michigan is on bye this week. Any thoughts on them? If you don't, that's fine.
I like what they're doing. Finally, I mean, since Harbaugh's been there, this is the kind of team that we've been wanting to see every year. I mean, we'll see when we get into these bigger games coming up, Ohio State, and we'll just see if they can play as good as they're playing against those bigger teams.
Exactly. I love that they're running the ball a lot. But Jim Harbaugh said it best. George Patton got it done on the ground. Neil Armstrong got it done through the air. They're running the ball well. They went into two hostile environments, Camp Randall Stadium, which they had not won since 2001. They got a victory there. Yep. Nebraska, the last time they visited Nebraska, that was when Denard Robinson and Devin Gardner went down to make Russell Bellamy go into the game, and that did not go very well. This time it went a little bit better. We're not world beaters. We still got a ways to go before we could beat Ohio State, but we're 6-0. We're doing well going into this bye week. Well rested, and we got Northwestern next week, which, God forbid, that sounds like a bye week in itself, because Northwestern has just been way down this year, despite making the Big Ten title game last year. I'm excited for that, and hopefully they'll have a shot at Ohio State.
Yeah,
so that's your bye week. That's your bye week analysis from yours truly and Arbau. We're moving to some Lions football.
Oh, yay.
Lions and Cincinnati, two teams that have had it rough over the last 4 years since Cincinnati beat Detroit to screw their playoff chances over Christmas Eve of 2017. Yep. Atlanta won anyway, so the Lions would not have made the playoffs in 2017 either way. But that unfortunately was the final nail in Jim Caldwell's coffin, which most people suggest that coffin should never have been created in the first place.
No, that was a huge mistake firing Caldwell. I think he was a great coach, and they brought in some not so great coaching staff after that. So, yeah, big mistake on the Lions' part.
Matt Patricia thought they had turned the corner after getting rid of Quandre Diggs. Well, they did turn a corner.
The wrong one.
Very dull. Kind of like that razor that we just don't want. We just don't want to get rid of because we trust it all the time. That was kind of the corner that we turned, unfortunately. Yep. So the big talking point I've got here is the Lions. They're 0-5. They don't have much of a receiving core, especially with Quintez Cephas going out. Will this team win a game?
That's a tough call. I mean, I could see them being the first team in history to do 0-17. I could see it. I really hope it doesn't happen. And I think this week might be one of the weeks to get a win.
Certainly. I had said before at the start of the show that I was going to pick the Lions to lose every single week until they won a game and proved me wrong. Mm-hmm. But seeing as how I'm talking about it now, that may change. Mm-hmm. And of course, we'll go into the keys to the game here in just a little bit. But the Lions, they have just had the worst luck. If luck were to be fair, honest, and equal, like all the movements have been going for nowadays, and I'm not trying to trash the movements, I'm just saying that's kind of what people are going for nowadays is equality and equity.
Yep.
The Lions would be 2-3 right now.
Yeah. Lady Luck knows one thing, and it's not equality. That's for sure.
Especially when you're a Lions fan. And it was even said on Monday Night Football this past Monday. The Colts had a Lions-like loss.
Yeah. Accurate.
When you have that tag in front of your team, it hurts.
It's really sad. It's really sad. I mean, the Baltimore game was a knife in the back. I mean, to come out there and play as well as they did against a pretty tough team and to come away only with a, 67 yard field goal.
It was a 66-yard field goal that bounced off the upright or bounced off the crossbar and went through.
Yeah. So I'm listening to that game on the radio that day, and the call on the Lions radio network. I love the Lions radio network, but the call that day, the announcer says the kick's up and it hits the crossbar. And he said it all excitedly, pauses for about 3 seconds, and then said, and it rolled in. And so I'm there celebrating, throwing my hands up. And of course it was the loss. So that was rough to listen to like that.
Probably, let's see, Dan Miller is probably the only announcer in the National Football League radio that took his fans through that sequence fully. If you would have heard Paul Allen from Minnesota or a couple different other radio guys, they would have paused for at least 20 seconds just in awe, because really? that was how that was. A 66-yard field goal. My first thought was, there's no way he's banging this through. The Lions have got this. Don't worry about it. And hit the crossbar and it went through. It's like, that is the most Lions losses I have ever seen. And that includes the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, which the last time I checked, that should not be a face mask. Apparently that is, if you're talking about Aaron Rodgers. And we all remember that very well. But that just takes the cake. 66 yards, the longest field goal, and will probably never get broken, because even Justin Tucker, who has the longest kicking leg of all legs that we have seen, had to bang that off the crossbar. Yep. So I don't think that's ever going to get broken. And if you're a Lions fan, it's like, why? Even Dean Blandino Dean Blandino of all people, who has been on the side of anti-Lions calls, well, to say the least, had said the Lions don't deserve that. So if he's even saying it, it's just been that unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do like seeing out of these two losses, the Minnesota game field goal and the Baltimore field goal, is the heart that Dan Campbell has shown after those games. Almost crying, if not crying, after the Minnesota game. I mean, I love seeing that out of the coach. That's something that I don't think we've seen out of a coach for Detroit in a long time. That guy wants to be there and he wants to win games. So I think that's awesome.
Yes, definitely. And it almost feels like, circling back to last week's show with Matt Hardesty, it almost has a Scott Frost type of appeal where it's just close losses. It's apparent that this guy is the right guy for the job. And the front office, at least here, does know what they're doing. This is just the unraveling of just how awful it was under Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn.
Yep.
So we're talking some Lions. They're talking some Bengals now. Have you ever seen a field goal? And again, we're talking field goals. A field goal go off the flag of the upright?
I have not. It went off the flag and in?
It was off the flag and it was ruled no good. And to the refs and the Packers, sadly, defense, it did look like it was a no good field goal. But I want an official ruling on the flag, because my thought is if it hits the flag, it could potentially mean it hits the upright. Does that mean it's good, or does that mean it's no good? I kind of want a ruling on this, because yes, it did look no good, but if the flag is part of the upright, I wonder, does that constitute to be part of the upright?
Right. Yeah. Has the NFL released anything on that? I think
no,
they
and I
should.
don't think they will, and they should, because
they really should.
It's another weekly instance of where the Lions get screwed by something, and the Packers benefit from something that would normally screw the Lions, and the Packers would win. This has turned into. It turned into probably one of the biggest Tom Green podcast fans, turning into Tom Green ranting about his team just profusely.
Yeah.
And has been one of his bigger fans saying, "Let's go, Tom, let's go." But I have points here, don't I? The Packers get screwed into a win and the Lions get screwed into a loss. What else is new?
That's absolutely right. I mean, they got the Lambeau Field has to be paying their refs to give Green Bay some of these calls, because my goodness, they get the dumbest calls.
They do, and it's the Aaron Rodgers factor. Maybe the Rodgers rate does exist in the NFL.
Yeah, discount double check, baby.
Price, I feel, is still better, even though the Chiefs are 2-3.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah,
or 2-4. I think actually, it's not good in Kansas City either. The barbecue's good. The football team so far isn't quite.
Yeah, which is crazy. I thought this team was going to come in and just be as dominant as they have been in the past couple of years, and they're just not doing it this year.
So far not. And maybe that Bills loss told us more than maybe we would have thought.
Yeah.
So back to the Bengals here. The question that I had actually tripped our ball on to start was Joe Burrow. That man does not have an offensive line to save his life.
No.
That man was out for the year with, I believe, an ACL injury last year. And now he's gotten concussed and he can't talk because his throat, he had a throat contusion at the end of last game.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, is Joe Burrow going to come out of Detroit remembering a single thing?
I hope not, because that means our guys are getting to him. And that's going to be a big factor if our guys can get to him. But maybe Burrow's just weak, because when I heard that he got the throat contusion, I'm like, oh man, that must have been a nasty hit. It turns out it wasn't that nasty of a hit. So maybe he's just got glass bones and paper skin, because yeah.
Which is a possibility. My thought is that the lack of offensive line that Cincinnati has is provoking hits like this, which could in turn make people think that Joe Burrow has glass bones and paper skin. That's a possibility. But the thing is, yeah, if the hit wasn't that hard, and it also could be one of those right place, right time things. I'm sure
Absolutely.
you've seen that in football, to where now the targeting rule in college football, that's another thing we can talk about here in just a second. The targeting rule wasn't necessarily meant to prevent the defender that's getting beaned. It's preventing the guy that is doing the beaning.
Mhm.
Because if he lowers his head and does that, all of a sudden that G force, and I've seen an episode of Sports Science before explaining this, that G force could in turn come right back at him with friendly fire.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever watched Friday Night Lights, but that's what happened to the main character in Friday Night Lights, Jason Street. Went for a tackle, didn't know how to tackle correctly, and he was paralyzed. So
yeah, and it happened to Eric LeGrand too, not exactly in that instance, but that's what happened with Eric LeGrand. It was just a hit like that, just paralyzed him from the spine down.
yeah.
And there goes his sense of mobility.
Yeah, football is a not a good game on the body. I mean, those guys are taking hits that the human body should not be able to take. So
exactly. So before we get to the keys of the game, I kind of mentioned a point within the point, the targeting rule in college football. It has costed a lot of guys games so far that frankly, maybe it shouldn't have. So the targeting rule right now is, and I'm not quite quoting it from the book, but it's pretty much a hit to the head or neck area that is initiated from the head or neck area or something like that, or even the shoulder area.
okay.
If it is called targeting, the player is ejected from the game. If he is ejected in the second half, he misses the first half of the next game.
Really?
First targeting. A non-targeting can be reviewed and changed to a targeting. A targeting must be reviewed and can be reversed from targeting. What are your thoughts on this?
This is the most information I've gotten on this. I knew that they added the targeting rule. I didn't read too much up on it. I've watched a couple of college games this year where I've seen the targeting rule take place. So yeah, that's interesting. I think it's a good idea. It's going to protect the players more. Those young guys, especially the ones looking to go into the NFL, protecting them as much as possible so that they can have long careers. It's definitely going to be beneficial for both college and the NFL.
But do you think on the first instance of targeting, the player should be ejected?
I think that's a little ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. I think if it's a guy that has been hit with this call a couple times during the season, then maybe throw him out of the game, make him miss the next half of the game. I get that. But a guy on his first time offense, he's probably not doing it on purpose. He probably just misread a tackle, misread where a guy was going, and didn't hit the tackle exactly how he wanted to. And so I don't know. I think it's a little bit over dramatic to toss him out on first instance. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the thing, is this could be revisited after the end of the season, because there have been multiple instances where a guy lowers his head and just doesn't even think about it. It's just one of those things where, just like a routine, you get into a routine and then all of a sudden one thing goes, and then that goes for 3 weeks, and that's going to be one of those things. And so I do think it is a little bit pompous to throw him out right away.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, if a call is targeting on the field, if it was called targeting on the field, it is automatically reviewed and it must be reviewed. So they do have that luxury of, if they can go ahead and call targeting, and it will be reviewed and it will be determined whether or not it was the right call.
Well, that's good then. And I guess if you're getting thrown out for your first offense, it's going to make these guys think about it a little bit more, I think. Obviously, like you said, if you're in a routine of how you tackle and it just happens on accident, I get that. But these guys are going to start being coached to not tackle that way. They're going to start practicing not tackling that way. And it's going to be beneficial in the long run for the players, like I said earlier.
Mm-hmm. And to me, most of this targeting rule, I think, exists from the Heads Up Football initiative that was going on when we were going through school. Yeah. Heads Up was for the Pee Wee football players to tackle with their head up. And now you would think this is now going to be going towards middle school, perhaps even the start of high school. So we're thinking about 3 to 5 more years before we really see the Heads Up initiative start to make its way into college. So we're
That's
still a
true.
little bit away from that. But I think we both do remember from going through high school and watching Lions games and whatnot, the Heads Up football banners that were on the back of the end zones. That was for Pee Wee football, and now we're starting to see those Pee Weers going towards middle and high school.
True. That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point.
So moving back to our game, we got some keys to the game we got to break down. How does Cincinnati come into Detroit and beat the Lions?
Well, I think Burrows has some really good receivers, specifically Jamar Chase. They were teammates in college, and they obviously have a great connection. Burrows has been hitting him like none other, and they've been making huge plays. I think a 70-yard touchdown last week. So I think a big key for Cincinnati coming in here is going to be continuing those big plays and Burrows getting it out to those receivers.
Gotcha. So my keys to the game, of course, like you had said, Burrow and his receivers. He's got Jamar Chase, he's got T. Higgins, and he's got Tyler Boyd. I wanted to say AJ Green, but he's with the Cardinals now.
Yep.
It's still kind of bugging me a little bit. Oh wait, AJ Green is in Arizona,
not doing anything.
Joe Mixon's a good running back. If they can get the running and passing game going, despite that lack of offensive line, you may have something there. Detroit's defense is still a shell of what it was in 2014. They're still not that good, especially with the losses that they've had. The second key, I've said it on just about every podcast. I'm sure you know what's coming. Turnover game. Turnovers. Graded RBs, not on the field. Win the turnover game, and you're going to have yourself a win of the ball game. And then, of course, on defense, get to Goff. Make him throw a pick.
Yep.
Goff has probably the highest QBR of any 0-5 team that has been in existence since the QBR rating began. He's at the highest QBR. So that tells you the Lions are overdue for a victory. But if Cincinnati is going to come in and beat Detroit, they got to get their wide receiving core and Burrow going, win the turnover game, and make Goff think a lot.
Absolutely.
So how do the Lions beat Cincinnati at home this week?
Well, I think it's going to come down to their defense, really. Like we said, Burrows is going to try to get out to those receivers. Our secondary, like you said, is pretty weak this year. Our defense as a whole is weak, but our secondary is looking pretty rough. So I think if our secondary plays well, we get some stops on those wide receivers. We keep Burrows in line, keep him from throwing those deep balls, those large touchdowns. I think that's going to be really helpful. I also think Goff, like you said, winning a turnover game, Goff needs to be making smart decisions. Our wide receiving core is not looking very good this week. And I think just making smart decisions, not necessarily going for a big play, but rather making small plays, driving down the field and getting into the end zone. I think that's going to be major.
A big key right now for the Lions is the loss of Frank Ragnow. Losing him for the rest of the season, because I had said to start the season that they should be running the ball like nobody's business if they want to win some games, because they now have an offensive line. Well, that offensive line is starting to deteriorate just a little bit because of Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow. I believe Decker is going to be coming back, but with losing Ragnow, you lose a lot, because when Ragnow was drafted in Detroit, he had not allowed a hit to the quarterback, much less a sack. He had not allowed a hit to the quarterback when he was playing in Arkansas. And we've seen those Arkansas teams from back in those days. They were a shell of themselves from the Arkansas of the 1990s, for sure. So big key here is how are they gonna react to the loss of Frank Ragnow? Are they going to run the ball? Are they going to pass the ball efficiently? And even passing, they've lost Quintez Cephas. Now they're going to really have to depend on Trinity Benson and TJ Hawkinson. Does that sound like a dependable wide receiving core to me? Absolutely freaking not. And that's no disrespect to Benson or Hawkinson, because Hawkinson and Benson have done what they can. Mm-hmm. But is that going to be a reliable wide receiving core to get you to the playoffs? Absolutely freaking not. Sorry, but it's the truth.
Yep.
So depend on the running staff and your whatever you can in wide receiving, and then defense, just stop the big play, because
Yep.
that's what the Cincinnati Bengals are known for with Joe Burrow, is the big play. If you can stop the big play, perhaps you can win the game.
Yep.
So scoring wise, what are we going to see on Sunday? Are we going to see our Lions' first win of the year, or are we going to be waiting another week to see a Lions win?
Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping and I'm praying that we're going to see a Lions W this week. It's going to be tough and it's going to be close. I've got a really close score prediction here.
Sure.
And I think it's going to be a lot of field goals. And I think it's going to be 1 point. It's going to be 17-16 Lions taking home the W.
So in a low scoring affair, Lions win 17-16.
That's what I'm saying.
All righty. So what I've got is, I've pretty much hinted at it throughout the whole show. I was going to pick the Lions to lose every single game until they won a game to prove me wrong. After 1 week, I have now changed that assessment, because they almost, and frankly should have, proved me wrong last week with that close loss to Minnesota. That perhaps they should make a rule now in the last minute, if they know the team's going to be driving, to have the out of bounds play regularly. Maybe that'll make them think. But that could become a rule that the teams say no. That's just trying to screw the team that's coming back. So That's just me thinking out of thin air. But how I see it, I think Detroit's going to get their first win of the year, not only because yours truly is going to be in the house and hoping to meet Mina Creamer and Kelsey Conway from Cincinnati. We know who I am when I go to games. But I think the Lions have a solid chance, because Cincinnati, they are a 3-3 team or a 4-2 team. The numbers have escaped me off the top of my head, but I think they're a fade 4-2 team, if that makes sense. A 4-2 team that really should be about 3-3 or 2-4, and I think they prove it here. Lions win on a last-second field goal, on a last-second 42-yard field goal by Austin Seibert, 24-21. I think a little bit higher scoring, but I do think the over in this game is in trouble. I think we both agree that the over in this game is in trouble.
Yeah.
If my DraftKings app can open in an efficient amount of time, I can tell you exactly what the over-under in this game is. And of course, because we are live on the show, it's going to be a little bit slow, but we're going to find it right now. And I will tell you the over is 47.5. I think we both think that the over is in deep trouble.
Yeah.
In that one, for
Agreed.
sure.
Yeah.
That tells you I've worked in radio for a little while, to where I was able to fill the airtime without.
Yeah, right. There you go.
While my thing was loading, for sure. Which in fact, and we had talked about it before. Do I miss radio? A little bit, but I do not miss the attitudes and the retail store type mentality that was at that radio station that I was employed at. So, do I miss broadcasting? Yes, but do I miss the mentality and the retail store attitude of that? Absolutely freaking not.
Well, it's good. It's good that you have something like this podcast to get your broadcasting side out. You know, you can go to work and write, and then you can come home and do a podcast and broadcast. So
exactly, I got the best of both worlds there.
That's right. Yep.
So now we're moving to the most heralded segment and the most Ryan Bauer, Critter Deneen, Alex DeWitt segment of our show. It's the Pick'ems. This is probably what you've been most excited for the entirety, because you've been on the social media side of the Pick'ems. Now you're on the actual guest side of the Pick'ems.
Yeah, this is cool. I'm glad to be here and doing this. Let's do it.
Exactly. It's literally like the last 10 minutes of College Game Day, how they just go through picks and be funny about it, of course, because our boy Lee Corso. First one on the docket. Big noon Saturday. Oklahoma State and Texas. Texas is coming off that loss that, I will say it, throughout the rest of the season, Texas blew it. Oklahoma did not win it. Texas freaking blew it.
That's
who you got in this one?
I am taking Texas in this week. I think Texas has a great offense, a great QB, and a great running back, and they have a solid defense, and I think they're the better team here.
We have to thank Alex DeWitt for making our pick'ems the meme pick'ems instead of the actual pick'ems. So
we're going to go with the horns this week.
There we go. He's going with Hook'em Horns. At Texas, in Austin, Oklahoma State. I'm a man. I'm 54 now, but give me the Longhorns in this one by 10. 41-31. Going to be higher scoring because the big defense is Big 12 is big. What is defense? 12. We've known that for years now. Yep. SEC matchup, short college slate, because this slate and next week's slate actually looks kind of crappy. But this year has been almost like 2007 in college football. Sans Michigan getting upset by an inferior, but hopefully that doesn't happen next week. Kentucky and Georgia. Kentucky a surprise.
Yeah, I'm going with Georgia. Obviously, they're the number one team for a reason. I think they're going to be solid this week. They're going to want to keep that number one spot. They're going to go get the W.
First time we have not seen Alabama as the number one team since, I believe, when they lost the national title to Clemson 2 years ago. Or actually, wait, LSU beat Clemson, so a couple years back. So 2019.
I'd like to see how much money sports books made off of that game, because I'm sure there were tons of bets for Alabama, right? And then
absolutely, especially
for Alabama to lose that. Wow.
Yeah. The money line was 4 digits, which I would extremely avoid the money line on that. The spread was -17. I did put a couple bucks down on that, and obviously I lost that.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, Kentucky is getting back to their Benny Snell days, going 6-0, but between the hedges, Georgia is unbelievable. Their defense is great, especially in Athens. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs. And of course, meme form.
Bark.
There you go. Moving to the NFL slate. First one, we got the fighting Kirk Cousins against the fighting Sam Darnolds of the world, Minnesota and Carolina.
Yes. This was a tough one for me. I think it's going to come down to those running backs. Both Cook and McCaffrey have been hurt the past couple of weeks. So McCaffrey's slated to play this week. I don't know if he's going to be in or not. And if he is, I'm sure it won't be 100%. So with that being said, if Cook's in the lineup, which he should be, McCaffrey not in the lineup, I'm taking the Vikings.
You are taking Minnesota on the road. This one is tough. I like what Sam Darnold and that offense has been doing, even without Christian McCaffrey. Chuba Hubbard has been decent, but I think we all know he is no Christian McCaffrey. Even with Dalvin Cook, I do like the Panthers' defense a little bit more than people think, but I don't think they're world beaters, but I do think they're a force to be reckoned with. Here's where we go contrarian, and I go with the Sam Darnolds and Robbie Andersons of the NFL. 27-24 Carolina.
Okay, and a close one too. Yep, should be a good game.
And you've got the Vikings in meme form?
Purple hosers.
There we go. Chargers, and you especially thank Alex DeWitt. He'll love this because he's among the first to listen to the show when it comes out, so he'll love that meme form.
Yep.
Thank you, Alex. And he said on it before, you are welcome. Chargers and Baltimore. Herbert against Lamar. The battle of the hair or the battle of the run?
Interesting. I think Herbert's been playing pretty good lately. The Chargers are looking good, but I think Baltimore's been playing better. Lamar's been having a great season. Coming back and beating Kansas City was a huge game for him. That was super cool to see. And I think they just got a lot of momentum right now. So I think I'm going to take Baltimore.
This one has been tough for me to pick because I've seen a lot of bettors go with the Chargers money line and this at plus money. This one, I think we all appreciate seeing the guy getting a tattoo for every single win that Baltimore got this season, despite the 66-yard field goal. I want to see that guy get another tattoo for this one. Maybe have to tattoo Justin Herbert's hair or something like that. That man has got the locks, especially. Baltimore 34, Chargers 31. Close, but I think Baltimore wins that on a Justin Tucker 48-yard field goal.
Oh,
Or
wow.
longer.
Specific.
So Baltimore in the meme form.
I don't know. I was trying to look something up, but I can't think of anything. So the Dark Birds.
There we go. Good deal. Arizona and Cleveland. 4 years ago, this was a battle of winless or very few win teams. Now you have Kyler Murray against Baker Mayfield.
I love Kyler Murray. I have him on my fantasy team. I've had him on my fantasy team for a couple of years now. Arizona's playing great this year. The only 5-0 team left. I think they're going to take it hands down.
Arizona has been very good, and they have proven a lot of doubters wrong, especially yours truly. The dog pound, though, is a different element. I have been to the dog pound this year, and it was pretty cool to experience. Now, of course, I was hungover and still drinking at the dog pound, so it was a little queasy, but that's of my own fault. And when I go there in November for Lions-Browns, I'm making you even more jealous because I'm going to that. But believe me, those are probably the only 3 games I'm going to hit this year for the Lions. I expect to be feeling the same way. Great, but a little bit queasy because of how much I've drank over the past weekend.
Yeah.
I will take the Browns at the dog pound because I just think that Arizona's due to lose 1. And this one, I think, is the game that they will lose, especially once Cleveland coming off of that bad one against the Chargers. Feel bad for them. Cleveland 34. Cardinals 28.
Okay.
So
close game.
Meme form Cardinals.
Angry Birds.
There we go. The Angry Birds. Kyler Murray's going to get a pig thrown at him because
a pig skin.
Yeah. New England and Dallas.
This is an interesting game. I had zero faith in Dallas going into this season. As you know, I had Zeke and Dak on my fantasy roster at the start of the season. You now have Zeke and Dak on your fantasy roster thanks to our trade earlier in the year.
I did because I felt that they were both going to be great offensively. I just thought their defense was going to prove their struggles.
Yeah. Well, the first 3 weeks that I had them on my roster, they were not effective. But then, of course, as soon as I trade them to you, they're doing great now. So they're back in full form. They're back to playing how they know they should be playing. And with that being said, I'm taking Dallas this week.
You are taking Dallas this week on the road. I did misquote that game because I had put New England as the first team. They're actually at home this week. So in Foxborough, Tom Brady had some struggles at Foxborough, and that was mainly because of the rain. I still, to this day, am going to say it is Dallas's division to lose, and they will lose it somehow, some way. Give me the Patriots and Mac Jones because the Cowboys. Remember, it's not a logo. It's a rating.
1 star.
1 star Cowboys. So the reverse of that in meme form, the Cowboys.
1 star. And the Patriots, America.
There we go. Sunday night football, because this slate, I had to put 8 games on the docket because the slate has just been not that great, but we love watching football anyway, especially from what last year brought us. Seattle and Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Seattle doesn't have Russ this week. They're going with Geno Smith, I believe, starting quarterback. Yes. That's going to be interesting for them. Geno Smith played pretty good coming in for Russ. So again, this is one that I had to toss up. They're in Seattle, you said, or they're in Pittsburgh? Okay. I'm picking Pittsburgh. Like I said, it's a toss up. It could go either way. If Geno Smith has a good game, they'll be fine. Seattle will be, but I think Pittsburgh's going to be the better team.
Yeah, the reason why Geno Smith threw that interception with 2 minutes to go is because his receiver fell down, not necessarily because of Geno Smith himself.
Yep.
He's proven to be a better quarterback than when he was even at West Virginia. I thought he was all right. I didn't think he was all that in a bag of chips, but I thought it was okay. He proved better to me in that 2 minutes than he did all the last 5 years we've seen him.
Yep.
But I will take the Steelers as well, and it's because it's in Pittsburgh. It's on Sunday night. Najee Harris is due for a big game, and Seattle's defense has become more of, well, you might need a cup of Seattle's best to stay awake through watching some of that defense with some of the holes that they've had. Pittsburgh 28, Seattle 8-17, and Pittsburgh in meme form.
This is another one that I don't have one for, I don't think. I'm going to go metalheads.
There we go.
Just tossing something out there.
Exactly. Because in meme culture, even if you think about, even if you want to stop talking about memes, that's a meme in itself.
Facts.
Monday Night Football, Buffalo, the Fighting Josh Allens against Tennessee, who by the day you keep getting, or it keeps falling down on the minus spectrum, how much money you got to bet for Tennessee to win the division. Perhaps the Colts have a thing to say about that, but not last week. Buffalo and Tennessee, who you got?
This is another tough one. I am going to go with Buffalo, though. Jared Allen's been playing really well.
I wish he would have been playing well, but he's been retired for the past 6 years. I think you mean Josh Allen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wrote Jared Allen in my notes for some reason. You're right. Josh Allen has been playing pretty well this year. The Titans honestly have not been playing great outside of Derrick Henry. So yeah, I'm going to take Buffalo.
You're going to take Buffalo in that one. I bounce back and forth between this one because it's at Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Buffalo as well because they've already lost once, and that was their first week of the year to Pittsburgh. Give me the Bills. They'll make you want to shout as well, 31-20. And the final game, we got Buffalo in meme form.
Bills Mafia.
Because we all want to just bounce, or we just want to go through flaming tables just for Josh Allen.
Right. Did you see the gender reveal? The guy jumping on the table.
Oh geez.
Oh, so funny.
I haven't, but that's something I got to watch once we get out of
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. It's great to see. Yep. Bills Mafia staying strong.
Bills Mafia, a great fan base for sure.
Yep.
So we've gotten through the pick'ems, we've gotten through the game preview. It's time to ask that famed final question that I always have on the show. Is there anything else you have to add to this wonderful Tom Green podcast?
I really don't think there is. I just want to say go Lions. I really hope we find a win this year somewhere. I could see him going 0-17 though, which makes me sad, but at least we'll be in the history books. So go Lions, go blue. And I appreciate you having me on, Tom.
Absolutely. We were overdue to have this episode come out, and it's glad that we were finally able to do it. So he is Ryan Bauer. Go blue, go Lions. And let's hope we get a victory this week. This has been the Tom Green Podcast.